Hello and welcome to Ask the Doc, No Appointment Needed, the show where we answer your health questions as you send them in. Remember, many of us treat our pets like we treat our own children. So, like we do with our kids, it's important to do what we can to keep them feeling their best. On today's show, we will look at important things you can do for your pet's health and well being. Plus, we will answer your questions. All that's coming up on this episode of Ask the Doc, No Appointment Needed.
Send in your questions to questions@allhealthtv.com or AllHealthGo on Facebook or YouTube, or visit the Ask the Doc page on our website, allhealthtv.com.
Hi again, guys. Welcome to Ask the Doc, No Appointment Needed, the show where you send in your questions and we answer them. I'm Dr. Joy Carter, Doctor of Veterinary Medicine, and thank you so much for joining us today. Let's get right to our questions. All right, our first question comes from Wanda, who emailed us and asks, I have a 10-pound Bichon male poodle and a 30-pound female terrier. What is the right amount of food to feed them? I don't want to overfeed or underfeed either of them. All right, Wanda, thanks so much for writing in. So, I usually tell people most dog food brands or companies have a recommendation as far as feeding on their bag. Usually, that recommendation is going to be for the amount you want to feed them for the entire day. Okay, so if you're feeding your dog once a day, which is perfectly fine because I get this question asked a lot, then you're going to want to feed that full amount one time. If you want to feed your dog twice a day, which is also perfectly fine, then remember you're going to divide that amount up into two. And if you have a puppy or a kitten, a lot of times we're going to feed them a little bit more frequently, usually sometimes 3 to 4 times a day. Then you're going to want to divide that amount, 3 or 4 times. Just like what it is with humans, calories in versus calories out is the same thing with animals, okay? There is usually a recommendation of kilocalories per day based on a pet's weight. Now, if your dog tends to be on the chubbier side, you may want to talk with your vet and discuss, hey, how much should I be feeding? Probably you're going to want to be feeding on the lower end of the recommendation. If you have a very active dog or a very active cat, especially like a working dog or a dog that's in training, then you're going to want to be feeding more probably on the higher end. But honestly, if you have any questions about how much to feed, just bring in the bag of the dog food, talk to your vet and say, hey, is my dog overweight? Is my dog too skinny? What do you think about, how much I'm feeding him? And that's going to be the best thing to do, okay? So hopefully that helps answer your question, Wanda. All right, this next email comes from Jordan, who emailed us with a question about his newest family members. Hi, Doc. We just adopted two beautiful young female terriers from our local no-kill shelter. They are great with most people who come over, but they do not like my son's friend at all. They are so sweet, though. Do you think he reminds them of someone from their past? Can we do anything to help them get past that? All right, Jordan. So that's the big question. As far as, your son's friend reminding them of someone in their past, honestly, we don't know. Definitely dogs and cats are able to recognize people. I mean, they recognize their owners, especially when we've been gone away for a long time. Even there's cases of pets that have ran away, and been reunited with their owner years later, and they still recognize them. So I don't know if, unfortunately your son's friend reminds them of someone maybe that was not the most pleasant person in the past. But I kind of talked about this on the last show. Things you can try and do is definitely when your son's friend comes over, try getting him or her to offer a treat. Okay, a treat, maybe a favorite toy, something like that for them to associate that, hey, this person is not a bad person and he or she is just here, just to have fun and to play with me. If they don't seem keen to the idea of that, that is okay. All right. Give them time. You may need to put them in another room of the house, let things kind of quiet and calm down. And then once things are quiet, then you can let them out. And honestly, tell your son's friend just to probably ignore the dogs unless they come up to him. And if they do come up to him, then he can kind of maybe pet, things like that. So hopefully these are some tips to help, and hopefully maybe they kind of change their opinion on your son's friend and maybe start to like him a little bit more. Okay. All right. Next question comes from Corey, who writes, my dog eats well and never tries to eat people food, but when I left the door open to the room where the cat litter box is kept, I caught her trying to eat cat poop. Is that common? What can it do to her body? And how can we get her to stop doing that? All right, Corey. Unfortunately, dogs will eat anything, and cat poop is one of the number one things that people complain about. All right. We don't know exactly why they eat the cat poop, but we think one thing might be because cats tend to have a higher protein content in their food. Okay. So whatever they eat, usually some of that's going to be pooped out. So I guess maybe for some reason, because of the more protein, the poop is a little bit more enticing. One thing that you can try and do, obviously, is maybe moving the litter box to a location where your dog cannot get to it, or buying a special litter box that has maybe an entrance on the top of it. There's all these fancy litter robots and crazy contraptions now. If you want to spend the money, you can certainly do that, but that might be one way to keep the dog out of there. The other thing that you can see about doing is there is a medication, or basically it's a powder. It is called Forbid, and there may be some other ones out there by other companies, but you sprinkle it into your cat's food. And it's supposed to make it to where the poop is not as enticing, okay? Or if your dog, say, is eating his own poop or another dog's poop in the house, then you can do the same thing. But whoever's poop they're eating, you need to sprinkle the stuff in there. And as far as it being harmful, most of the time, no. Okay. As long as it's not a huge amount, it could cause some stomach upset. Maybe might vomit some up, or sometimes if there is a lot of litter, they can get constipated because it can dry out the feces. I've never yet had a dog that got obstructed from cat litter. Okay, knock on wood. So it's not really that common. But definitely you don't want them eating it if you can, but just because they do eat it doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be harmful for them. Okay. So, all right, Corey, good luck with your dog and trying to get him to not eat your cat's poop. All right, we still have time to answer your questions, and it's so easy to send them in. Here's all you need to do, guys.
Send in your questions to questions@allhealthtv.com or AllHealthGo on Facebook or YouTube, or visit the Ask the Doc page on our website, allhealthtv.com.
All right, let's keep it going. Our next question comes from Devin, who sent us a question on Facebook, and he writes, how do I keep my dogs and cats' coats feeling healthy and soft? All right, Devin. So, a couple things you can do. Definitely regular brushing or regular grooming is going to be one important thing, especially if you have a long-haired pet. Okay. Trust me, no one likes trying to get those mats out of their dog's hair. So, you definitely want to make sure you prevent that. All right. Um, as far as food goes, I mean, there are some brands or formulas of food out there that are supposed to be for like healthy skin and coat. There are some that are obviously hyperallergenic for pets that have, skin issues. So diet is one of the things you can do. One other thing that you can do is actually they have omega-3s or fatty acids, kind of fish oils for pets. All right. A lot of them you can probably purchase online, like 1-800-PET-MEDS, Chewy, maybe even Amazon. A lot of veterinarians will also keep those supplements in their hospital, so you may want to talk with your veterinarian about that. I definitely do recommend fish oils. You can get them in capsules. You can get them like in gel caps, which you can actually break open and sprinkle on their food. I think there's powder formulas. There's even like a liquid that you can put a few pumps in their food. So there's a lot of different ways to administer it. If you really want to be really fancy, there is definitely a market for dog grooming products. There are special dog shampoos and conditioners out there. I recommend people, if your pet does not have a skin condition and is not on a prescription type shampoo, just something that is either aloe or oatmeal based is going to be best for your pet. Okay. Um, as far as the flea and tick shampoos, I mean, there is sometimes a need for it if your pet might get a flea infestation, but there's a lot of harsh chemicals in it that can be really rough on their skin and on their coat. So it's not something that you want to use on a regular basis. And there's actually dog conditioner and kitty conditioner out there. So if you want to buy some of that, you can do conditioner on them. There's also some mousses that are available that you can put in their coats, in between baths and different things like that. So if you have any questions, contact your regular vet or even just going to a pet store. And I'm sure like someone there, an employee, can kind of help you out and find the right products. But that's going to be your best way to keep their coat healthy is with regular brushing. I recommend the omega-3 fatty acid supplements and then just a good shampoo and a conditioner to bathe them in. So, all right, good luck with that, Devin, okay? All right, next question comes from Melanie, and she writes, our dog Gizmo is a good boy, except when it comes to people food. When we have people over, he stalks them for food. We put him in the other room sometimes, but love having him with us since he's part of the family. Any suggestions of how to break him of that bad behavior? All right, Melanie. So I think this is a problem with a lot of dogs and even some cats, okay? Um, yeah, unfortunately, someone gave your dog some human food, whether it's you or a family member, somewhere down the road, okay? And of course, it's like us with sweets, with donuts, treats, cake, things like that. They're good. We want them, okay? So a lot of times with human food, it's the same thing with dogs, all right? So the best thing you can do is just make sure that everyone in your household, including guests or company, you tell them, hey, listen, my dog may come up and beg with food, but please, 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 we're trying to break him of this habit. Please don't give him anything. Okay. That's going to be your best thing. Another option you can try and do is maybe the same time you guys are eating, you can also feed your dog. So it's dinner time for you, dinner time for your pet. Okay. The other thing is if it's becoming a big nuisance, so if you've got a really big dog and he's just going crazy, sniffing everybody, bumping the table while you're trying to eat, honestly, just put him in a crate or a cage or another room. It's just for a short time period while you're eating. And once you're done with dinner or lunch or whatever it is, you can have your pet and bring him out. Okay. It's not going to be that long, hopefully, unless you're having like a 10-course meal. He or she will be perfectly fine. But the big thing is going to be to not reinforce the bad behavior, okay? And to not give them as much as they are begging, please, 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 just tell your company, everybody, like, hey, don't give them any food. We're trying to break them on this habit. So good luck on that. Hopefully these tips help you out and hopefully it works for Gizmo, okay? All right, our next question comes from Austin, who writes, this may seem like a strange question, but our cat wakes us up in the middle of the night when she's playing with her toys. She actually talks so loud and so much it wakes us up from the other room. Have you ever heard of that before? And what can we do to get her to play quietly? All right, Austin. Yes, I have heard of this before. I have experienced this with my own cats. So, cats are nocturnal creatures. What that means is they sleep a lot during the day and they get active and they come out at night. Now, normally, if a cat was an outdoor cat, it's not going to be much of a problem, okay? That's when they're going to do their hunting. That's going to, when they do, all their other stuff that they don't do when they're, sleeping during the day. But I get it. I totally get it. It can be annoying when your cat's meow, 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 and then you hear toys rattling and it wakes you up. So, a couple of things you can try and do is if you're home during the day, try and get your cat to be more active during the day, okay? Those little feather toys work great. They have these little toys that have like a ball in it that kind of rolls around and around and around. Those are really good for playtime. You just want to try it basically like a kid, you try and tire them out before it's bedtime. The other thing you can try and do is if they are making a lot of noise with the toys is maybe get some toys that are not as noisy, like the rattly balls. That's going to, of course, keep you up. Things like scratching posts, things like that that don't make a whole lot of noise. So if your cat does want to play, hopefully it doesn't wake you up. And if your cat is still being really loud, then you may want to put a play area in another room or in another area of the house that's kind of far away from your bedroom. So hopefully you don't hear it. Okay. So unfortunately though, cats are notorious. Everybody's had this, at 5:30 in the morning, they are howling, crying, feed me, feed me. I want to play. I want to do this. I want to do that. So it does happen, but hopefully with these tips, you can maybe help your cat be a little bit more quieter and hopefully you can get some rest because I know how it is with not able to get rest from a toddler or from a cat or a dog or from whoever it is. All right, so good luck with that, okay? Got another email, and this one is from Anna, and she writes, what is the truth about annual checkups and recommended vaccines? My pets don't leave the house and don't interact with other pets. Why do they need vaccines? All right, Anna, such an important question. Thank you for asking this. I get this a lot. Okay. So, the vaccines out there are to protect your pet, okay, from very, very harmful and sometimes deadly diseases. In particular, in dogs, what we're talking about is things like distemper and parvovirus, okay? Which, if they are not properly vaccinated for that, those diseases can be fatal. With distemper in particular, dogs can start to show neurological signs. They can have seizures. They basically can go into a coma and they can die. And it's not very pretty. Now, with parvovirus, it is a virus that attacks the intestinal tract, okay? Causes very severe and profuse bloody diarrhea, vomiting, severe dehydration. These guys get so sick, okay? And they can survive from it, all right? But a lot of times it takes a lot of aggressive treatment, and that means it costs a lot of money. I have easily seen bills for parvo pets be in five, 10, even $15,000, okay? The good thing is we do have a new monoclonal antibody for parvovirus that if you can give it to them early, it can help with the infection and basically more likely to survive. But even that injection can be anywhere from $500 to $1,000. Now, when it comes to cats, there's quite a few things we vaccinate for, but the big thing that can definitely be pretty deadly, especially in younger cats, is panleukopenia. Okay. And certainly it's the same thing, it's similar to parvovirus in dogs, vomiting, diarrhea, dehydration. And certainly it can cost a lot of money, to treat them and, hopefully help them survive. Now, rabies is a big thing, guys. I mean, you guys know the survival rate of rabies is almost literally zero. I think there's maybe one person in reported history that survived. Okay. So, same thing with your pets. All right. If they come in contact with an animal that has possibly had rabies or had rabies, the only way to protect them, okay, and keep them from unfortunately dying is with a vaccine. The other thing is not only are these vaccines good for your pet, but they're also for your safety, all right? I know everybody says, I've got a cute cat, he'll never bite anyone, my dog is so friendly, she wouldn't, harm a fly. But I will tell you this much. I had a cat yesterday who came into my clinic. This cat, sweet cat, according to the owners, viciously attacked the owner so bad that she had to go to the emergency room. Her hand was covered in bites, okay? That cat was not vaccinated for rabies. Now, even though this cat probably does not have rabies, okay, and has been in their house since it was a kitten, because it's not vaccinated for rabies, this lady had to get the series of shots for rabies, the prophylactic shots. And I don't think they're very comfortable. Okay. I definitely know I don't want to get shots if I don't have to. The other thing is her cat now has to be quarantined at either a hospital or at animal services for a minimum of 10 days. All right. And she has to pay for this out of pocket, and that can get to be expensive. 40, $50 a day. So you're looking at four, five, $600 sometimes just for that alone. Literally, when we have to quarantine them, we do take care of the pet, okay? They get food, they get water, the litter is changed, things like that. But we're literally sitting there waiting for them to see if they show any signs of rabies and hopefully not die, as crazy as it sounds, but that is what happens. So, in a legal aspect, okay, because if for some reason, if it's you, I guess obviously you're going to have to pay for your medical bills and everything else. But if it's a family member or say a guest that comes over to your house and they get bit by your dog or your cat and they're not properly vaccinated for rabies, certainly it can be costly, for you. So definitely, definitely. I don't care. Your pets, most pets, even dogs go outside just for a little bit, even to use the bathroom, okay? Maybe cats not so much, but you never know. Your cat could get loose and your cat could certainly, come in contact with these diseases and get infected. So you want to protect them. The benefits of getting these vaccines outweigh the risk by 1,000 times. There are a lot of people who are kind of vaccinations, or against them, I guess you could say. And that's okay. That's a personal choice. But as far as when it comes to your pet, they don't have a say so. So you have to act in their best interest. And I promise you, getting their vaccines, getting yearly checkups is in their best interest. Okay. All right, so thank you, Anna. I know that was kind of a long answer, but this is an important topic to me and so important for your pet's health. All right, we still have some time to answer your questions, and it's so easy to send them in. Here's all you need to do.
Send in your questions to questions@allhealthtv.com or AllHealthGo on Facebook or YouTube, or visit the Ask the Doc page on our website, allhealthtv.com.
All right, our next email comes from Jeff, and he writes, sometimes my dog acts like he's starving, and other times he won't touch his food. Is it the food, or could it be something more serious that I should be worried about? Should I take him to the vet? All right, Jeff, we kind of touched a little bit on this last week, but dogs can be just like humans, okay? Sometimes you're hungry, sometimes you're not. I would say if you do have any concerns, though, do take your pet in and get your pet checked up. Your vet may or may not want to do some blood work or some other testing, maybe possibly fecal tests, check for intestinal parasites and different things like that. But it may not necessarily mean that there's anything really seriously wrong with him, okay? He may just not have much of an appetite for that day. So best thing to do is to get them checked out, and your vet's going to advise you if there's anything else that you need to do or anything else to be worried about, Jeff, okay? All right, our next email comes from Jean, and she writes, every time we go away, my cat gives me the cold shoulder when we get back, sometimes for a whole day. Am I reading that wrong, or do cats really hold a grudge? All right, Jean. So, cats are very particular and curious animals, and they certainly, I believe cats have their personality. They have a personality, very, very unique. Every cat is completely different. And as far as holding a grudge, I don't think your cat holds a grudge, but I think your cat probably maybe is a little bit upset that maybe you did leave. And that is maybe one of the ways that your cat manifests that by completely ignoring you. All right. I know certainly when I had two cats, they were sisters and they've been together since birth. I would take one cat to the vet for, say, like a checkup or for whatever, and I would bring the cat back and they would just be hissing at each other. It's like they never met each other in their life. And I'm like, bro, you guys were just gone for a couple of hours. Like, chill. You know who you are. So yes, cats can be a little bit spicy. It's not really anything to worry about, okay? Your cat is going to forgive you just like your dog is going to forgive you, all right? I'm sure if you get some food out, your cat's going to forget about that very, very, very quickly. So don't worry about it too much, Jean, okay? Your cat's still going to love you, regardless. All right, and next we're going to hear from Nico, and he writes, my dogs have long, sharp nails, and I want to try and cut them myself. Any tips or suggestions? All right, Nico. Okay, so yes, you can do a nail treatment at home, but I will say this. If you are scared about doing it, about cutting your dog's nails too short and causing them to bleed, your best thing to do is you could go to a grooming facility. When they do the nail trim, just ask them nicely, hey, can I see what you guys do? Same thing at a veterinarian office, all right? Trust me, we want to teach you how to trim your nails at home, okay? Because the last thing we want to do is having to be do just a nail trim. Even though we love seeing your pets, sometimes we're really busy with, other patients and really sick pets. I know in the ER all the time, we get people that will come in for a nail trim. And we're just like, "Ugh, really another nail trim?" But, we get it, okay? If you do want to try and trim their nails at home, all right, there are a couple of different things. You can obviously have nail clippers, okay? The big thing is if your dog does have clear or kind of white nails, you usually can see the quick. The quick is that red part in the nail, and if you cut to the quick, that's what causes it to bleed. Now, if that happens, don't freak out, okay? There certainly you can put, like, there's something called Quick Stop that is kind of like this powder you can put in it to stop the bleeding. If you don't have that, you can just take a towel or some tissue, apply some pressure for a couple of minutes, and I promise you the bleeding will stop. Now, your pet might not forget it about you quicking the nails, and then when you go to try and trim the other nail, they may be a little bit more hesitant, okay? But it is not a life or death situation. Also, there are Dremels that are out there now that you can certainly use. Those products, there's nothing wrong with it, but you can sometimes still cause their nails to bleed if you were to Dremel too close. So just be careful with that. If your pet has black or dark nails and you can't see the quick, what I recommend is just trimming a little bit at each time. And if you look at the center of the nail, there usually will be a black dot that will start to come up and become more prominent as you get closer and closer to the quick. Okay. You start to see that, just stop. If the nails seem like they're still too long, that's okay. Just take them to your vet or to a grooming place and have them maybe finish the job and have them show you exactly what they are doing. Okay. But you certainly can do it. One thing I would recommend is that you start doing the nails when they are a puppy or a kitten if you're able to, okay? Last thing we like to do is to have a nail trim come in. At the end of the day, it's a dog that we have to sedate. We don't want to sedate your pet, but sometimes it's the best thing to do if they are literally freaking out, okay? But certainly one thing you can do to try and prevent that is with starting with nail trims when they're a puppy, so they can certainly get used to it and everything. All right, guys, that was quite a bit of questions. Hopefully I answered everything, and I will be back next week. So please send in your questions so I can answer some then. And that's all the time we have for you today. Once again, I'm Dr. Joy Carter, and thank you so much for joining us today on Ask the Doc, No Appointment Needed, okay? Bye, guys. I'll see you next week. Have a great weekend.
Send in your questions to questions@allhealthtv.com or AllHealthGo on Facebook or YouTube, or visit the Ask the Doc page on our website, allhealthtv.com.